Welcome to Brash Ag, the farm innovation podcast with hosts Raymond King and Kit Franklin.
Namaste, Raymond.
Namaste. Nice to say namaste again. Actually, we didn't say it last time, did we?
No, we messed right up, Ray. We were driving out of cereals and recording on the road, and we never said namaste to each other, which I guess because we probably had said it when we first met each other in the morning. It is our customary greeting these days.
Yeah, when we got up bright and early, I expect we said it then. That would be almost certain we did.
I'm almost certain we did. I think we used it several times around the show as well. I think some people said it to me, I think, during the day. Namaste, everybody. Let's say that. Ray, we are revisiting cereals from the comfort of our offices today, though, going back to some of the audio we took. I mean, I don't know if you want to, just before we get going, reflect upon maybe the first episode we did at all, or have you had any more thoughts about cereals since we came away?
Really enjoyed it. I mean, first and foremost, everyone should check out our previous episode. We had a really good conversation with Kieran, our host at Grounded Advice Limited. He gave us some really interesting thoughts on the show, but also on agritech as a whole and how it kind of ties in with his role and his business as an agronomist. So that was a really interesting take. And we also got some really good conversations around nitrogen use efficiency as well. So hopefully everyone's caught up with that. If you haven't, go back to the previous episode and listen. And my thoughts on cereals itself, I think it's almost sort of bedded in with me a bit of it. I really enjoyed it, and actually come off the back of it, certainly from a podcasting perspective, had some really good conversations that hopefully we're going to lead into today.
Yeah, so actually, I think one of the things we left on the last episode, Ray, was we left a cliffhanger as to were we going to go back or not the second day. So I don't know if we want to give that away or not, but
let's just say I was bribed with the purchase of a bacon sandwich, and a bacon sandwich wasn't purchased.
No, but NIAB did deliver, Ray. So, we did venture back on the second day, and we did get a bacon sandwich, and we did get slightly rained upon, and then we left at about midday, and it was actually surprisingly well attended for a wet second day, and everyone seemed pretty jovial. We had some good conversations as well. So, yeah. Okay, let's get into our first clip then, Ray, that we've taken from the show, and maybe somewhere we're going to start with somewhere that is often sadly overlooked by the Brash Ag podcast. We are aware of that, but we're going to head to the livestock world, and we are going to talk to NoFence, the GPS cattle and sheep collars. So we've just wandered onto the NoFence stand, and Finn is going to have a chat to us about NoFence. We've got a little model goat at the front with a collar around its neck. Finn, tell us what it's all about.
Hi, Kit. So NoFence is a virtual fencing company originally founded in Norway in 2011. Essentially, the founder of NoFence was the first maker of a virtual fencing system. He made it in his garage in the 90s for his goat herds. Since then, NoFence has now expanded into 6 countries, been in the UK since 2020, and we've sold over 200,000 of these units.
Well, great. So that's quite an impressive number of units. Let's ask some technical stuff. What's the stimulus mechanism? Is it audible? Is there an electric shock, like you might think about an electric dog collar? Yeah. How does that work?
So essentially, just to give you a little bit of background, it's all controlled via an app on your phone.
Yep.
On your app, you draw a boundary.
Yeah, yep.
And when that animal crosses that boundary, they start to receive an audio cue.
All GPS based, obviously.
All GPS based. And the audio cue will go on for a minimum of 10 seconds. And then after that 10 seconds is up, the animal will then receive an electric pulse. And the electric pulse is about 1/10 of the voltage of an electric fence. And our research finds that from when that first audio cue plays, an electric pulse is only given 4% of the time. The other 96% of the time, the animal will just hear the noise and turn back into the pasture. The system also does need a mobile phone signal in which to operate. And the mobile signal is used for all of the communication from the app on your phone to the collar and then back to the app again. So there is a need, but if there's a corner of a field with no mobile signal, the boundary will still be active because that's GPS based. You just won't be able to do anything on the app on your phone, basically.
What who have you found the best sort of uptake with in terms of types of farmers? Is it sort of regen people looking to put animals out onto cereal crops at the right time of the year, or is it more livestock focused or dairy? Who's been the biggest market?
I think one of the biggest markets for us is obviously the regen focus, the ability to put your animals wherever you want to and be flexible with, maybe we exclude them from this area in the middle of the pasture.
Mob grazing, strip grazing.
Mob grazing, strip grazing. We have some big customers like the RSPB and the National Trusts, and they can really get their cattle or sheep into whatever areas they want to. And I'd say apart from that, the other place we're really popular is kind of the extensive grazing, so large expanses of land. Farmers can keep them, say they've got access to a commonage, they can keep them on their side of the commonage. They can then know exactly where they are. So instead of going up on your quad bike, driving around for hours trying to look for them, you pull up your app and you can just drive straight to them. But at the moment, over the last year or so, we've definitely moved more into kind of the mob grazing systems. Farmers can then, instead of moving a fence line, they've just got the app on their phone, and if it's hammering it down with rain or anything like that, they can sit by the fire with the feet up and they can move their cattle 8 or 10 times a day.
You're not insinuating that farmers would rather be in by the fire. Let's talk about some practicalities of it in terms of the ruggedness, robustness. They're obviously held on by a chain collar. Like, how long do they last? Is there a battery life that expires? All those sort of general things.
So, I mean, all of the hardware we sell comes with a 5-year warranty. So we've got a cattle collar, and then we've got a smaller sheep and goat collar. The cattle collar battery will last about 8 to 10 months a year. So essentially, if you're grazing all year round, once a year, you're going to have to bring the animals in. You have to take the batteries out, put them on charge, and then put them back in and get them back out again. With the sheep and goat collar, we're looking at about 4 to 6 months. During the summer months, they do have solar on them, so they won't last as long in the winter than they would in the summer.
So I think this is one of the questions we've been trying to ask everyone. So how much is it going to cost?
How much is it going to cost? Great question. Obviously depends on how many you buy in. For the cattle collar, anywhere from about 295 to 275. And then for the sheep and goat, it's 225 to 205, depending on how many you buy in. We are running a show discounts, as I'm sure quite a few people are. And then there also is a subscription fee to pay to use the collar, essentially. So those prices I gave you do include the first 12 months of the subscription. And after that 12 months, there's either a monthly option or an annual option. Let's say you're grazing 12 months of the year. Most cost-effective method is either £35 or £25 per collar per 12 months, depending on if you have over or under 50 active collars on your account.
Well, thanks, Finn. That was very clear and concise, and have a good day.
It's what we like to hear. Thank you, guys.
So it was really great to hear from Finlay there. Really cool to kind of hear what they're doing and some of how they're kind of using their technology to kind of support regenerative farming and that side of things. And cool that they've kind of found a bit of a niche there. We did mention when we spoke to them that they actually had 2 sites on at cereals. So they had a proper stand, and then had some goats there wearing the very fetching collars. We did remind them that on the NoFence stand, rather tongue-in-cheek, we reminded them that the goats were actually fenced in, but apparently that was because we couldn't put collars on all of the humans to stop them going in to go and see the goats. Yeah, great to hear from them. And then and where are we headed next?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to add to that. I mean, it was quite interesting. I think when the idea of stimulus-based collars for animals came in, I remember discussing with Professor Mark Rutter at Harper Adams about maybe the ethical considerations around shocking an animal and the stress that might cause, etc. And actually, it's interesting to hear that they say very, very, that they were commenting on the fact that it's a very, very small proportion of the time that the collar actually administers a shock, and the rest of the time the animals end up just reacting to an audible noise. That's quite an interesting, just something that I know early doors in that concept was something we discussed a lot. So it's interesting to hear that. Yeah, so sorry, Ray, just to add an extra bit there, but we're going to head now to another GPS-linked technology company, and that is RTKFNet. the subscription correction signal service for your high precision GPS positioning. Nice for me, actually, Ray, we're going to hear from Mark Arnold, who was an ex-student of mine. He wasn't an engineer at Harper Adams, but he selected me for my sins, or for his sins, I guess, maybe, to be his dissertation supervisor back quite a long time ago now. Time flies, but Mark was a really nice chap when he was a student, and he first time I've caught up with him since, and he comes across really well. So I hope you enjoy Mark talking us through RTKFNet and everything they do. Okay, so we just walked on to the RTKFNet farming, because I think the F appeared at some point, with Mark Arnold. Mark, you guys offer truly nationwide RTK, real-time kinematic correction for GPS systems on a sort of subscription basis across the whole country. Tell us a little bit about how many users you've got, and how that coverage works, how many base stations and all those sorts of things.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are the largest privately owned network. Started off with 3 farmers about 15 years ago, and it sort of grew organically since then. We operate around 200 base stations all across the UK. Our main hub, if you will, is Cambridge area, these Anglia counties, purely because of the arable farming. But since then, we've grown up towards Scotland and then further down south. We've probably got pushing nearly 2,000 customers on the network in total. That's a variety of farmers, drone users, tablet users, and anyone that sort of requires RTK. The benefit of us being an independent provider is that we have full control of the base stations, and we're not tied to one particular manufacturer. So we can put into any make and model of machine that is RTK ready. We can supply the signal for that, for whatever use case it is using it for.
Cool. And because that network is completely national, I could chuck my tractor on the back of a low loader, drive up to Scotland, drop it in a field, and I've still got correction that is relative to the stuff at home and all completely correct, yeah? And it'll be the same in 3 years' time.
Yep, absolutely. All the base stations are connected to a online network. So if you drove your tractor from the bottom in Cornwall all the way up to Scotland, it'll just pick up whatever base station it's closest to and work off that. All automatically, the farmer wouldn't see it doing that. It would just happen in the background. Obviously, all sticking to the same lines and being repeatable. So every year, those lines won't shift. Allows for things like controlled traffic and surveying, going back and looking at post-processing images and whatnot. Completely comprehensive solution, really.
So I think it's quite interesting to see that it sort of started in farming, but you were telling us just before we were recording, you're sort of spreading your wings into other industries. How are you finding that? You're finding a lot of uptake from non-farming clients and customers as well? Yeah,
really interesting. That is something that is becoming just more and more. Obviously, start off with farmers, the 3 farmers, the 3 directors that started this business that will always provide for farming. However, we find that once farmers are using RTK, that's sort of it becomes a little bit saturated, if you know what I mean. So other industries that are just becoming more and more are defence, health and safety, surveying, like we touched on, drones obviously are becoming more and more, autonomous vehicles, anything really. A good example of a health and safety one would be using health and safety bracelets on the rail networks, where we've got users that they can mark danger zones and zones to not enter. And then if they're entering those zones, the bracelet beeps and vibrates and buzzes and keeps them safe. A
bit like a NoFence goat collar then that we just spoke to a few minutes ago.
There we go.
The last question we ask everyone is, Mark, how much is this going to cost? What's your yearly subscription for a single tractor or whatever? What's the baseline model?
So the beauty of what we're doing is we're completely flexible because we've got complete control of that network. So we can work with whatever use case that the farmer requires. A good baseline to work off would be a 12-month year subscription for a farmer is £650. That includes the SIM card and the data, and obviously any kind of support through the phones from us guys. But I mean, we can go down to 1 month for drone users. We can go 3-month harvest hire, 6-month. We can even do multi-year deals and multi-unit deals for fleets. Down the line, we're looking at doing like a token-based pay-as-you-go service that can tie in quite well with the surveyors and the drone users. So really, I think it's endless, really. Who knows where it will end up in a couple of years' time.
Well, perfect. Thank you very much for talking us through.
Ideal, thank you.
It's really great to hear from Mark all about what RTKFNet can offer for its customers. It was great also to hear kind of a little bit about the kind of how they've built up what they've built up and what they can do now, and then also kind of I always like to see when there's that sort of crossover and bleed over between industry. So it's cool to hear how they're sort of supporting outside of agriculture and still sort of using technology and a service developed for agriculture, but actually bleeding that out into other sectors, mining and defense and things like that, and drones as well, and surveying. So I think that's really cool and kind of probably a bit of a an agritech good news story that perhaps has gone under the radar.
Yeah, well, we often say, don't we, that we as agricultural engineers like to take technology from other industries, and in a sense it seems like they're taking technology the other direction, which is cool. I remember quite a few years ago speaking to a family friend, a sort of friend of my father, who is a surveyor, and he was talking about the fact that, well, he was quizzing me on RTK and GPS and its true accuracy, because at that point, this is a good number of years ago, the surveying system world hadn't moved on to GPS yet, and they were all very bewildered by it, and we were already using it full force in the agricultural world. So interesting. Now, if you're going to use your correctly positioned tractor that you can pick up and drop anywhere in the country for one subscription fee, you might well be doing some drilling with that tractor, Ray. So next, we're going to head over to Amazon, who, really interesting. Amazon is obviously a German-based company, and what was really interesting is they were showcasing at the show a prototype machine that's being developed specifically with the UK agricultural market in mind. So, which I mean, maybe shouldn't sound surprising, but kind of does a little bit, because ultimately the way that most manufacturers work is they're going to create products that work really well in their backyard, and then they hope to export them where possible. But this was a drill developed by Germans specifically for that UK and British market.
We're here on the Amazon stand with Oliver Watson, and he's going to give us a little rundown of the Condor prototype drill that they've got on their stand. So
yeah, it's a bit of a new one for us, obviously. Never before have we shown a prototype machine on a stand. Obviously, usually we always want to show you the finished article, but this is sort of a product that we see has massive potential in the UK, as do our German counterparts. And actually, we're trying to develop a machine directly for the UK market. So it is a prototype machine. This machine we've got here today is the number one machine. There is only one in the only one in the world at the moment, and it's here on our stand. It's actually been here since February, so it's been on an arable farm up in Lincolnshire, and we've been testing it on various different soil types and bits and pieces in different conditions, because we want to find the advantages, the disadvantages, and we want to make this machine directly for the UK market. So Condor started for us back in 2007. Originally predominantly designed for that more Eastern European market, the Kazakhstans and places like that, where they wanted large output.
I remember coming to one of your events at Amazon HQ a few years ago. I think I gave a talk about hands-free.
Yep.
And you had one of these absolute, was it a Condor? It was absolutely monstrous,
yep.
like
12 metre,
but it just looked huge, I remember, somehow. So that was obviously version 1.
Version 1, so we still sell it today. Condor 01, the 01 series, so in 12 and 15 metres with 25 centimetre spacing. Really good drill. Also now really popular in the UK, as we see people in the UK progressing to more and more direct drilling. However, we see that actually the amount of farmers solely only direct drilling their whole farm in the UK is actually a really small number. We see that there's a lot of people still have, they may be direct drilling 80% of the farm, but there's still 20% where they've got some sort of cultivation. The other big thing that we have, obviously, in the UK compared to some other places in the world, is we have grass weeds, obviously. And when you've got grass weeds, obviously there's two trails of thought in there. Obviously, do I go direct drilling? Do I try not to disturb the soil between the rows to try and limit the amount of germination, or do I invert it, bury it, and go that way? So with the condor, obviously, we're going for the first option, and we're going to try and disturb as little soil between the row as possible. So that was the idea. Like I say, designed as a direct drill with that wider spacing. The wider space obviously allows us to get that material flow through the machine. But one way that we can obviously also combat grassweed problems is competition in the row. We want to get that row closure as quickly as possible. So we started to look at various options and look at what our competitors were doing. And a lot of people have gone down like a banding shoe. So they've set the coulter still at 25 centimetres, but now they're going to put a 2 or 3 inch banding shoe on. In our opinion, that's not the correct solution for direct drilling, because you start to move far too much soil, because you've got a much bigger point. And actually the best thing to do is increase the number of coulters. So with the development of Condor 02, we've actually now got the option.
So you've brought the rows back in. Also, I see here you've got V press wheels behind a tine. So that's interesting, because again, classic direct drilling issue. You stick a slot in the ground, the weather doesn't go wet, it gets too dry and the slot opens up. And obviously sort of V press wheels behind a disc, or some sort of intriguing press wheel behind a disc is fairly commonplace, but that's quite novel behind a tine.
So like you say, that is always a problem, especially on heavier ground. It's trying to get that slot closure. So you can see in the picture here, obviously we've got a smooth wheel, so here we're just trying to force the slot back together. But on the actual drill, you see we've got some serrated versions. And these are almost, the best way I can describe it, it's almost like you're kneading bread. You've got them fingers that are working that soil back together. They're also creating that little bit of tilt, obviously, with the serration. So it's helping just to put that bit of loose soil back on top of the seed. Again, the key to success with any drilling is soil to seed contact. So we've got to make sure we've got that finer soil pressed around that seed, because if we've got that soil to seed contact, we're going to get a much better germination.
Yeah, no, great. I mean, we're stood here on some pretty stony Brash ground. My family farm is half an hour from here, and we've always preferred tine drills. We're actually currently on a disc drill, but we've always preferred tine drills because of the stone scenario. So you'd think it'd be a nice, perfect option for Mr. Clarkson then.
Yeah. But like you say, the disc and the tine concepts, they've both got their places, but obviously with a disc you are constantly forcing that disc into the floor, so you hit a stone and it wants to ride over. Well, with a tine you flip it completely on its head. Actually, with a tine you're constantly fighting to hold it out the floor. It naturally wants to bury and bury and bury. The other nice thing is, because of that, if it hits especially on this Cotswoldy Brash stuff, we've got a lot of stone, but they're not massive. So what it'll actually do, it'll actually move that stone out the way. But you'll also see with these legs, we've got quite a long leg, and you'll actually get a bit of flex in it. So if it hits a really big up, rather than just riding over it, it'll actually weave its way round. So we don't want that seed to come out and be sat on top, because it's never going to germinate. So it's really important that we maintain that seeding depth. And obviously that's a good thing with a Condor. Every tine is on its own depth control. So regardless of the terrain or whether we've got an uneven seed bed, it's always going to put that seed in at the same depth across the whole width of the drill.
So obviously this is a prototype, but do you have a sort of an idea of the sort of price point this is going to be towards?
So for a machine sort of like this, you're going to start in the region of probably 135,000, going up from there, depending on options. Like I say, we've now added the option of maybe like a VF tyre. So again, when it's wetter in the autumn, again, a very British problem. We can really let the pressure out of that tyre, so that we've not got the problem of having like a panned area where the wheel's been. You'll also see that we've put these disc wheel track eradicators on, because then you come to spring drilling. What the worst thing you can do in spring is you're anxious to get it in the ground as early as possible. So you let the top 2 inches dry so that you can travel. You go with a traditional wheel track eradicator that's got a point on, and what it does is it starts to lift that wet, sad soil from underneath, and then you make a real mess. Whereas actually with that, we can actually remove the consolidated soil from the top, but without bringing the wet up.
Yeah, no, it's cool. I mean, I like the hashtag designed in Germany, made for the UK, and it's great to see a prototype on a show stand that isn't a British manufacturer, but it's cool to see a prototype. So,
Yeah.
Ollie, thanks very much, and we'll let you get back to your ice cream.
Thank you very much.
Really interesting to hear from Oliver Watson there. We took him slightly by surprise, didn't we, when we initiated our conversation? He was
Ice cream in hand.
He was. Amazon were very kindly giving out ice creams to customers, existing and potential. And he was busy working his way through his ice cream as well. We were invited in for an ice cream, but the queue was quite large, and we had to crack on to talk to other people. But ice creams aside, really great to see a prototype machine in the flesh, as it were, and actually hear all about what Amazon are doing to try and support the UK market. Also from a very engineering and slightly nerdy perspective, really cool to see some cutaways on a stand. So they had some of their press wheels and things that they were using to sort of push the soil back down after the drill had been through, and they had some really nice cutaways to sort of show you how those tires deform and deflect and what they look like on the inside. So that was nice. I love to see in a museum or something like that where they've done a cutaway and they've painted around the edge red so you can see exactly where it's cut away. So that was really cool. But what were your takeaways and thoughts?
Well, let's just comment on the fact we were stood on the Brash, and yeah, it tends to be traditionally that farmers around here in the Cotswolds have liked the idea of tine drills over disc drills because, the disc drill, ultimately a disc is essentially a forward-facing tine, and it rolls over things. So if you put our classic sort of slabs of rock, the size of a dinner plate sometimes, in front of a disc drill, they do have the tendency to just sort of roll up over the top of them. So the sort of narrow tine that was on offer on the drill has a good relevance to the Cotswold conditions. And as he said, has a tendency to be able to pick up and move the stone rather than ride over the top. So that was good. And as I say, I think halfway through I said I've seen one of the big ones operating at a day at their head office a few years back, and he said, it was a 12-meter one. But then he went on to say that they did a 15-meter one. I think it was a 15-meter one. It was absolutely monstrous. I mean, I could just remember thinking, it was by far the biggest drill I walked around in the UK, I think. So yeah, from one German product, although obviously Amazon has UK headquarters distribution, and Oliver is a key man in that. We're going to throw over now to a startup, or certainly a tech newcomer into the ag space, and again from Germany, we're going to talk to SamCam. So we've just found ourselves on Sam Dimension, I think is the name of the company. They're making what looks like a super cool sort of multi-spec camera or something. And we're here with
Zoe.
We didn't actually ask your name before we started, Zoe. That's very unprofessional.
No worries.
We normally do.
Ray or Kit.
I am Kit. Yeah. That's great. Look, we're off to a flyer. Well done.
Okay.
Yeah, put us back in our place. Marvelous.
Yeah.
Tell us about SamCam AI.
Yeah. SamCam AI is a camera system which can get mounted onto a drone. And we're not working with multispectral pictures, but we work with RGB pictures. We're a company from Stuttgart, and sell those complete systems with the drone and also the software to detect weeds and get spot spray maps for herbicide application.
Right. So what sort of resolution are we talking about?
Yeah. We work with 2 different camera systems, but our standard system has a resolution of 1.6 millimeters per pixel on the ground, which means that we can map weeds really in the early stages, like the cotyledon stage. And also for cereals this year, we launched a new system, which is flying a little bit higher. So the standard system works on 60 meters height. The other one is flying a little lower and has a resolution of 0.8 millimeters per pixel, which makes it capable of also detecting blackgrass in cereals.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask about the blackgrass detection. So obviously that's a big problem in the UK. So how are you finding the conversations here about blackgrass? Are you having interesting conversations? Do you think there's going to be room for your technology to kind of get into the market?
So this is our first contact to the UK. We had some interest from the Agritech, which is in Germany and was held last year.
Yeah, we know all about that. Don't worry. Ray was there.
Okay, yeah.
I was in America. Sad times.
Still good though. Yeah, can you repeat your question? I'm sorry.
No, Gary. So basically, what do you think there's going to be interest in the UK?
There's a lot of interest.
Do you think that you can solve some UK farmers' problems?
Yeah, I think so. There's a lot of interest, but of course this is quite new technology, and this is really like precision farming. You have to be precise from the beginning to the end. So of course everybody's a little bit shy, but I think we have many possible potential customers here that are interested in the technology, especially in this area where they grow a lot of cereals.
It's a beautiful place, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
The Cotswolds is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
You wouldn't want to live anywhere else, would you?
Maybe, yeah. I think it's quite nice. I mentioned to my colleague that if we will have a SamCam place here where we sell the systems, I want to go there.
Yeah, well, okay, so there's
it is rainy, but I think I'm capable of that.
Well, there's a lovely farm just outside Cirencester, about half an hour from here, that you'd be very welcome to set up.
Is that your farm?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, my question is, I have a slightly technical question. What are your data flows like? Is this? I'm guessing it's not real time communicating with the tractor. This is going back to a cloud system, cellular uploads. Yeah. Do you see that as a problem with our really terrible UK internet in rural areas?
Maybe. We brought our own Starlink, actually. You can see it on the van.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is the solution, I suppose.
Yeah. You have to have good internet connection because we're talking about a lot of data. We pre-process them in the camera system. That's why it is this huge. So we work with 80mm optics, and behind that there's an NVIDIA graphic processor.
Yeah, Jetson.
Yeah. So we make nearly 1 gigabyte per hectare, but in the beginning we had 5. So this all has to get uploaded to our cloud system. We create the maps. This doesn't really take a long time actually, but then we have to send it back, which is also fast. But the upload is like a bottleneck.
I like that. Yeah, edge AI to process things. I always think of the concept. It's like a combine harvester. When you're going out harvesting your data.
Yeah.
You chuck out all the stuff you don't need before you get back, so you don't have to then chuck everything into the cloud and then process it.
Yeah.
And you're wasting time. So I like the concept of that. I think. Who are your customers? I suppose. Are you looking to work with drone companies, agronomy companies, farmers directly? How are you?
We would work with all of them.
Okay. And I suppose that leads me on to the next question: is how much is it going to cost?
This is our favourite question, by the way.
Okay. At the moment, we're selling it in Germany for roughly 90,000 K. So
is that euros?
Yeah, 90,000 euros. So
okay, yeah.
Do you want to pick your jaw off the floor, Ray? Or
this includes like not just the camera system, but also the drone, all the service around it, the batteries, the remote, and also the AI detection. Okay. Which is after 1 year, you would have to pay a yearly fee.
And can we ask the yearly fee?
It's 6,500 euros at the moment.
Rightio. Well, thank you very much, Zoe. That's been really useful. And we look forward to seeing it in action someday.
Yeah. Maybe next series then. Maybe we can convince Jeremy Clarkson to buy one, and you can see it in.
Don't think you're getting to Jeremy Clarkson through our podcast. He wouldn't have a clue we are.
So really interesting to hear from SamCam there. Well, from Zoe, who worked for SamCam, did an excellent job of talking us through the product. Really cool as well. I mean, I took one of their leaflets away with me, and they're offering with drones what we would have been sort of offering with the small robot company Robots a few years ago. So if all the technology is to be believed and it works out that way, really amazing leaps forward in terms of what data drones can capture, but more importantly, as we always say, turning that data into insights, and actually beyond insights into action. So being able to go out and spot spray blackgrass. I mean, I'm involved in some projects at the moment where that's the sort of holy grail of being able to control grass weeds, even if it's in a sort of a sacrificial way, where perhaps we're spraying with a glyphosate or something like that. Okay, you kill the crop, but you also kill the weed problem kind of once and for all. So yeah, really interesting to hear there. quite a tasty price tag. But
I was about to say, Ray, I thought you were gonna throw straight to me then and say, what did I think? And I was gonna say, well, we asked everybody how much their technology cost, and I don't think you or I took quite such an intake of breath with any other price we were given. Yeah, €90,000. I mean, I can buy a substantial chunk of steel for that in the form of a drill or a cultivator or, frankly, even a tractor. And this thing was, the size of a shoebox. So it was not cheap. Yeah, clearly there was some technology. You commented about the fact it was edge compute and, it was doing its own computation rather than uploading raw images. It had AI capability within the machine. But I mean, NVIDIA Jetson, which I guess it was based upon, I think they're $1,000 or so, aren't they? It seemed expensive, Ray. It has to, we can't be Brash Ag without saying our feelings, and it seemed expensive. Where's the payback on that machine going to be?
I could see a model, but it would be one where everyone, you're sweating your asset hard, taking that out with the drone. I think in the price from what they're explaining, the drone was in that price. So you would take that, and you would have to go basically work around the farms of the UK. And the more acres you cover, the lower the price you can offer it at. But yeah, I still think you're going to be a long time. You're going to be a long time trying to earn that back. But also a startup, so they're trying to find their space in the market. You can't do anything. You can't develop technology like this for free. You do have to. You have to put a price on it, and it has to make sense from a business case. And if they're in the early days, the product always, it's always going to start on a trajectory of being quite high and working its way down as you scale up. So, yeah, certainly potential there. And if it can do what they say it can do, there's no doubt in my mind, someone out there, if there's a business to be built around it, they will do it.
Well, to be honest, let's just put it on the list as one to watch. Neither of us were aware of SamCam before. They sounded like they might be interested in setting up some sort of UK. So, well, obviously they found themselves in the UK at cereals, and this was very, I guess, early in their exploration of the UK as a market. There was recognition of how the Cotswolds is the most great place ever. So we've got a lot of time really for Zoe, and we will be watching them closely. Also, I like the fact that Zoe basically started off her interview by taking the mick out of us, Ray. So that was also good of her too. So. Yeah, well, one more on our whistle-stop tour of cereals for today, and then obviously everyone's going to be dying to tune in next week for the next edition, but we're now going over to Techneat to see something that you sort of trailed in our first episode about cereals, and that is spot spraying. You couldn't avoid it at the show, or you probably could have avoided it, but there was plenty of examples of spot spraying at the show. And Techneat had a couple on display.
We are here on the Techneat stand, and our eye was caught by the Weed Wizard, which is a small sort of single-seater EV with a sprayer on the front, effectively. And we're here talking to James Everett from Techneat. So, James, could you give us a little bit more about that? And then you're very keen to tell us about something even bigger.
I am. So this is the Weed Wizard on a Paxton vehicle. It's a fully electric utility vehicle, does 110 kilometers on a charge. We are using camera technology on the front, where we're spotting weeds in hard standing for car parks, cycleways, and we're taking the weeding out. So for council workers, reducing blanket spraying, taking the percentage down to sort of 5 to 10%. So massive saving in chemical usage, and also more environmentally friendly for the public.
Okay, what's the technology driving that? Is it AI driven, or is it just very simple image segmentation? What's the imaging tech?
So it's not AI, it's just using brown on green. So generally anything that is green on a pavement is bad. Anything that's green on the pavement is bad. So it's taken that out, even if it's a packet of salt and vinegar crisps. It's going to have a go.
Yeah, no. Well, to be honest, we're a big fan of reliable technology, and ultimately, if that's your if that's the place that you're trying to weed, why not just use like green on brown or green on grey, I suppose, if it's concrete.
Exactly.
So talk to us about you have a tractor mounted, front mounted tractor sort of boom arrangement here. So talk through that.
Yeah, so that is a agricultural version of the Paxter Weed Wizard. We are using this in high value row based crops, so onions, carrots, leeks, and French beans. We are using the cameras of detecting the rows, and we are protecting the crop. We're spraying anything outside the rows, and we're also spraying inside the rows, and we're using that using colour technology. So onions are very blue to the camera, and weeds are also still very green. So anything that is green is getting a spray, and if it's within the boundary condition of the onion, it'll also have a go at that, but still protecting the onion crop.
So it's got a series of nozzles. How many nozzles are there, and what's the spacing?
So we're 60 nozzles over 6 meters, 100 mm spacing.
And this technology, is it UK developed?
UK developed. So we, as Technique, developed the machine, and we use a company called Tillett & Hague, which are from Silsoe, Bedfordshire, and we worked together to come up with this spot sprayer.
Yeah, no, don't worry. We know Tillett & Hague, famous in the world of robotic weeding and spraying and all those things, and we've been mentioned on the pod many times over the years. Great. The last question we love to ask is how much, and we can do it for two things here. So how much for the one on the tractor? How much for this lovely ATV?
So the tractor front unit is 70,000. The UTV is about 15,000 for the kit, and then the vehicle itself is 16,000. So
16,000 for that beauty. Perfect. Right. Well, thanks for chatting to us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great to hear from James Everett there. The Weed Wizard quad bike, as we saw. Wow, it wasn't a quad. Was it a quad bike? It was a sort of a.
It was a quadricycle.
It would be classed as single person EV or something like that.
Yeah, a single person mobility device. Yeah, it was pure Chinese beauty, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. Yeah, it drew our eye. So it did exactly. In many ways, it did exactly what it was supposed to do on that stand. So it drew our eye. We came in and had a look, and actually, I can see a lot of legs in the tech. They've not made it too complicated. It's spot spraying for amenity on. Let's not worry too much about green on green. Let's go green on tarmac. And how does that play out? So if you can still reduce chemical applications and basically deliver savings for chemical applications, it's kind of a win-win all round, isn't it? Whether it's in amenity or whether it's in an arable farming setting or anywhere else. So drew our eye, and then actually seeing what they were able to offer for a more sort of agricultural product, mounted to a tractor itself, and working with a name we've mentioned many times that have almost sort of in the background of a few companies' histories. So Tillett & Hague, helping them to develop their analysis or their sort of vision systems. So yeah, great to see that there's still work going on there, and that still playing their part in UK agriculture.
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, we've tipped the hat many times towards Tillett & Hague, but they were the providers of the technology that were first on the Garford RoboHo system 20 years ago. So yeah, it's good to see them still in the game. I think the amenity thing, is really interesting. We've not really covered amenity at all on the podcast, Ray. Maybe a bit of a hole in our coverage in a sense, but yeah, what a cracking use case. Because what council or district or mayoral area, whatever the word would be, wouldn't like to say, this year we've cut our chemical use by 80%. If they are using that as, well, they should use it as publicity, but if they do, what a brilliant statement. We used to have to weed all of the paving in this town, and it used to use this much chemical. We've taken on this tech, and now we're using this much less. I mean, what a great news story for that municipality, isn't it? I think that's the word, if I can speak. I was hoping you were going to jump in and say it for me then, Ray, and then you just looked at me like, yeah, get away.
Town, city, village, insert here, large conurbation. As you say, I'm sure it's a good news story it could be the good news story for many a mayor, maybe.
Yeah,
Manchester or otherwise.
And I'm sure that I'm sure that there are each and every one of those local authorities, let's say, has a sustainability lead or 5 who would love to be able to chalk this one up as a win. So yeah, it seems like a good place to target your technology into that space. And obviously, I'm sounding really cynical. It is obviously cool that you can do the same job using a lot less chemical.
On a practical note as well, I mean, if you think about it, I imagine the runoff and the wash off from tarmac versus soil or another background for a herbicide is probably quite bad, because there's no absorption of the product into tarmac. It sits on the top, it dries out, and then I assume the rain comes and washes it away. Probably quite a big win in terms of local water quality and all the rest of it.
There's no natural degradation gonna go on there, is there, in that environment?
Absolutely.
Okay, cool, right. Well, that takes us to the end of our 5 clips from our first offerings of cereals. Well, I say first, our second offerings, actually. We're going to come back next week with another 5. But be aware that, everyone, next time you can hear from the likes of Opco and Fent and Dronag. So please come back to tune in to hear from those guys in the next episode. And yeah, it's been really great talking, Ray. Who are you going to tell around about the pod this week?
Well, I suppose, all this talk of municipalities.
Great pronunciation. Marvellous.
All this talk of municipalities. Perhaps you should go and tell your local mayor. Maybe they're stepping down for other political aims, or maybe they're not. But you could go and tell them, listen to Brash Ag.
Yeah, I can imagine that is what a certain Manchester mayor is got time to do at the moment, is listen to the Brash Ag podcast. And when he does, he is going to learn all about spot spraying and how it can be a good news story for Manchester.
Exactly. He is dead normal.
He is dead normal. He keeps telling us he is, or so I'm sure he's got an interest in spot spraying, because we're normal, aren't we, Ray? We've got an interest in it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm sure we are what is counted in political circles as the normal citizen. Right. Marvellous. We're just talking drivel now, as ever. So if you have been, thanks for listening. Please do tell a friend. Please do like, subscribe, and follow. And we'll catch you on the next Cereals episode next week.
You have been listening to Raymond King and Kit Franklin. Brash Ag. Thank you, and tune in next time.